It's time for To the Max Sports, where we talk about sports. They're just two guys, Max and Drew, in a bar talking all things sports. Well, without the bar. And the beer. Wait, why aren't we in the bar?
Hello, and welcome to the Max Sports. Y'all know what time it is. Time for To the Max Sports. I got an empty seat here today.
Yeah.
Talked to Max. He said, I don't know if he can center me or not. It kind of looks weird. So there we go. We kind of got Max. What do you mean? I kind of got Max will be here next week. Talk to him. Barring any unseen events, he will be here.
Like unintentionally driving into a bridge or over a bridge?
We don't want that to happen.
No, as long as it's a bridge over troubled waters.
Well, speaking of bridging the gap, going from 8 seed to being in the finals, the Miami Heat. How about them Heat?
Yeah, second time in history where an 8 seed has faced a 1.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I'm puzzled by the whole Heat-Celtic series. I mean, everyone is kind of saying this, that if you had made that a 12-on-12 game, Boston wins 9 games out of 10, every 10, because they're better top to bottom. But do you put that on the coach? Do you put that on Spoelstra? Do you put that on Jimmy Butler? Where do you put that?
You put it on the Celtics. They're failing to produce. But having said that, Miami's just, they've been the underdog and they've come away, go to Boston game 7, on the parquet floor and beat the Celtics. That's tough. And cover 7-point spread to boot.
Yeah. You think Missoula keeps his job in Boston?
It's hard to say.
I think he should.
I think Spoelstra keeps his. He may go down as he may go down with the most wins of any. Like we talked about.
We did talk about it.
He's a young guy.
He may very well be the best coach in the NBA right now.
He may supplant Pop eventually as the GOAT of NBA coaches.
Still looks young. He does still look young, but he's not that young.
I think we looked at he's 56, 57 years old.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
He conceivably, he could have 15, 20 more years.
I mean, I remember, when LeBron was back in Miami and they brought him up to coach, and you look at him, you go, this kid just got out of high school.
Yeah, we thought he was just going to be LeBron's kind of yes man,
But he wasn't, and maybe that's a lot of Spoelstra, maybe that's a little bit of Riley.
I think it's a lot of Spoelstra. I mean, look, he's the GMs he's gone through, the assistant coaches, the player personnel he's gone through, and he continues to put together a team that's competitive.
Yeah, good for him.
Competitive.
Good for him.
Guys, stick around to the end of the show. We're going to test your sports trivia knowledge.
No, we're going to test something.
We haven't done it in a while, so me and Bob always play each other, single elimination. We ask each other sports trivia questions. Whoever gets it gets a free cup of coffee.
Something like that. So what's your outlook on the series?
I mean, Joker, the talent Denver has. If Miami can maybe steal one of the 2 games in Denver, maybe it goes 6. But I think they kind of met their Waterloo. I mean, I like Denver to win. It's a 4-1 game series.
See, I think it's at least 6, and I do think Miami stands a chance. They got to play out their mind.
Yeah.
But they got a better chance than 30 other NBA teams right now.
They've proven people wrong, for the last 60 days. So we'll see what happens.
And you're right. They just need to steal one in Denver. And flip the script.
And it could possibly happen tonight. Denver's coming off a 10-game playoff, so they may be a little rusty.
Yeah.
Or conversely, Miami could be like, they've got that euphoric high. That was their finals, beating the Celtics at home, So we'll see who shows up.
They had that euphoric high, and then they go high to Denver at altitude. And I know what Spoelstra said. We'll play him on the top of Mount Everest if we need to. It's within the lines. Yeah, Eric, just so you know, physically, if the between the four lines is at 6,000 feet, the air is still a little thinner.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. It's thin air like Spoelstra's thin hair.
Yeah, though he did say, yeah, and when you come back to Miami, we're going to turn off the air conditioning.
They should.
What was that, the thing that we did to LeBron here?
I think he cried that game.
He cramped up pretty bad.
Is that the cry game? He also had a game where he cried.
I think that may have been that game, yeah.
Cramping, cry. I think he cramped up, and when he realized he was cramping and couldn't play, that's when he cried.
So, did you watch anything else this weekend?
No, but let me ask you a question, Bob. It seems to always happen. If I have something I love at a restaurant, they take it off the menu.
Okay.
If I have a great Clips barber, I go back and, well, he's gone. Where did he go? Well, we don't know. Inevitably, it happens to me. I'm sure it happens to you, to everybody. Man, the one sports show I could tolerate, undisputed, they broke up their happy marriage and Shannon Sharp's leaving.
I'm sorry.
I know.
I mean,
it's just sad. I mean, for me,
I liked Mike and Mike back in the day. I do like Get Up, but I pretty much like Get Up when it's Greenberg hosting. And he hasn't hosted a lot of Get Up lately. And I'll watch First Take, but meh.
I can't tolerate the screaming and yelling and the
Stephen Smith is a little over the top.
And Shannon Sharp, to me, he had the theatrics, but it was more of a measured way that they both. I just love their chemistry, and it just sucks that they're not. And I've actually learned a lot of information that I've brought to this show by watching their show, believe it or not. So anyway, they're gone. And I remember when me and Max started this show, people would be like, oh, you guys don't argue. Everyone says yes. Oh, I agree. Well, you can have a show where you can disagree without screaming at each other or agree with what you're saying, and that's always been my take. But the biggest thing for me on a show, and that's what I loved about Undisputed, was I always learned something. Mm-hmm. They didn't just scream out an opinion without giving me a fact. He did this. They're only the second team to do that. Mm-hmm. Found out, of the 3 first-round picks, only 3 have taken their teams to the NBA Promised Land. Do you know who those are?
No idea.
Well, LeBum James, obviously he did it, but via coming back from Miami, first-round pick of the Cavaliers.
Okay.
Kyrie Irving was a first-round pick.
Cancer.
But he still was. And Tim Duncan.
Okay, yeah.
We were talking about how hard it is for Wembanyama. I was saying Wembanyama last podcast. But Wembanyama, how hard it's going to be as a number 1 pick to actually take your team to the Promised Land. It was an amazing stat that only 3 players have ever done that.
Well, is that partly because if you have the number 1 pick, you're not a good basketball team. At least at that point in time, you definitely aren't.
Yeah.
But you possibly are also a bad organization.
Yeah.
So maybe it's more along that. It's like football. I mean, if you're getting the number 1 pick, you probably don't have a good line to protect this kid.
Yeah.
And he's going to get destroyed, and he's never going to blossom into anything.
Yeah. And to your point, Duncan had the pieces. They just had the tank season and the Robinson injury. LeBum, he had to come back after being drafted and win.
Yeah.
Interesting dynamic. But I think the Spurs, I know they were a 22-win team, but I wouldn't call them a bad team.
Really?
A bad team is you've got a bunch of aging veterans. You're in total rebuild mode. I mean, we talked about last week. They've got some young, capable talent.
Yeah, but we also said last week that if that's pretty much any other coach in the NBA coaching that team, they don't win 22. They don't win 15.
But let me ask you this: with the talent, do they got a better talent group than Houston?
Well, Houston's abysmal.
Maybe not Detroit. Detroit's actually got some talent.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm happy. I think Victor is coming into an organization that is set up for success. We know success. We know how to do it. Let's just do it. And back to your thing about shows that I like. I've said this to you before. My North Star for sports shows is Pardon the Interruption. My two favorite sports people in the world, Mike Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser, and how they describe their relationship. And yeah, we're gonna yell at each other. We're gonna disagree. But at the end of the day, we love each other. That's what I want. That's the dynamic.
Yeah, and it's a good dynamic. I don't like the I like to have a more, they got this 2-3 minute thing going on and then it's over. Sometimes I think that's too short.
Yeah, and actually PTI invented that.
Yeah, they should call an overtime on things that when they really get rolling on.
Yeah, did you see the retrospective for the 30th anniversary of PTI where they went back and talked about how the program was formatted that way and what they were thinking and why they thought it that way, why they put the clock up? A lot of stuff that we see now, like even in like news programs where they have a clock up, they have a rundown of what's going on. PTI was the first television program to do that. Every other one that's come after learned it from PTI.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Again, we try to teach you things on this show that you did not know.
Exactly. So going from the hard court to the cold and hard court, any thoughts on Panthers and the Vegas Knights?
I'm going to lie to you if I haven't said I watch a lot of hockey. Now, I do watch playoff hockey just because it's playoff hockey and not a lot. If I'm having an adult drink and I'm there. But I'm going to go with the Panthers just because I will be in sunny South Florida again. My brother lives in Western Florida, literally a 10-minute drive to the stadium, which I've actually been to that stadium. Nice. And the fact that San Antonio had a minor league hockey team that was affiliated with the Panthers. So I'm all in, all Panther.
I find it really interesting.
Plus, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Pardon the interruption. Plus, they've come back from some amazing games.
Oh, no.
Amazing.
The storyline in South Florida.
What are they drinking in Miami?
Well, if you're Boston, if you're the leaders of Boston sports, I'm sorry, you're making a weapon of mass destruction and shipping it to South Florida and blowing it up because you hate everything in South Florida. Not only did the Miami Heat knock off the Celtics, who, by the way, had the #1 record in basketball. The Panthers knocked off the Bruins, not only had the best record in hockey this year, set the record for the best hockey season ever.
I know, right? Crazy. And the way they won that game where they had to empty out the goalie and they scored with like 30 seconds left and then it went on and they beat it. It's just amazing.
Yeah. So I have a friend who's telling me the Panthers are going to win, so I'm going to root for the Vegas Knights because I want them to be wrong. No.
Mike is his name, Mike?
Yeah, Mike.
Well, he's just going to be contrarian just to F with you.
Well, no, I'm going to be contrarian just to F with him because I really don't have a horse in this race. Yeah. I want to see that Heat Cinderella story go a little bit further, but the Heat are more of an 8th seed than the Panthers are an 8th seed. Yeah.
No, I agree.
And that's just a function of one of hockey in general in the season, and then playoff hockey, and you don't get that a lot in basketball. Though I think one of the things that hurt the Celtics was this reliance on the three, which I think almost creates in basketball the same situation that we have in hockey. In hockey, in playoff hockey, you get a goalie who stands on top of their head.
Yeah.
You're winning.
Yep.
I don't care what else is happening in the lines ahead of you. If your goalie is just playing out of his mind, you're winning. Yeah. You don't have that in the NBA. You don't have that in a basketball game unless your team lives and dies by the three.
Yeah.
Because shooting teams can go cold.
That's today's NBA. I mean,
well, for a lot of teams, yeah.
Yeah.
For a lot of teams, yeah.
So those are going to be two good, interesting series. So the Indy 500, I actually watched the Indy 500 and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh my God. I watched it and then it got to what is it, 15 or 20 laps to go. And it was like the end of the Lord of the Rings. It just kept on going.
It was like the last 2 minutes of a NFL football game.
Going and going. It was horrible.
I know.
I mean,
but it's still a good ending.
Hats off to Joseph Newgarden, first American since I think Rossi.
That was awesome.
I love me some Indy 500 mainly because I spend a lot of time thinking about the strategy and whether it's tires and fuel and some of that pitch strategy.
Yeah.
Because 500 miles is a long, long race, and race car drivers race into Indy, and I've done a virtual Indy 500, so I know at least what that takes.
Yeah, and then the agony of defeat to be in the lead with 7, 8, 9, 10 laps to go and lose your car. And I think there was one year in the 70s when I was a kid back then, one of the guys ran out of gas on the 5th lap from the final.
Yeah,
and you never know what can happen.
Yeah, I mean that's
what makes it.
That's part of it too, and I know talking Indy 500 and going really, really deep. Danica Patrick's only win in IndyCar at Motegi was basically a fuel win. It was a fuel strategy win that worked out for her. But no, I love me some Indy 500. Those guys are great to drive those cars at those speeds on that historic raceway.
Yeah.
And what you don't know, unless you've either raced it virtually on a true scan of the track or raced it, going into turn 1 at the Indy 500 at 230 miles an hour, your sphincter so tightens up, you couldn't get a fly through there.
Yeah, it's insane.
And turn 3, which is physically the same turn, seems so open and so free. What's interesting is the front straight of the Indy 500 actually goes downhill a little bit.
Yeah.
So you actually pick up a little bit more speed going into turn 1 as well.
Have we reached max capacity speed on these cars? I mean, when I was a kid, I remember 185, then 190. Then it was a big deal when they broke 200. And now what? We're pushing 235.
I think it's more the safety of the drivers. If they could go faster and still be safe, I think they're going to go faster.
Have we kind of reached a point where that's just the mechanics of having a
Well, remember one thing about Indy cars. Those are spec cars.
Yeah.
So you don't have all that much leeway.
There's kind of you can't.
There's some aero changes that teams can do, and there's some other stuff that teams can do. This isn't Formula One where it's a white drawing board.
But I guess to the point of us being kids in the 70s, 185 was incredible. They're 230, 235 now. 25 years from now, is it going to be 260?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. And
is it possible?
And do it on less gas.
Yeah, and will be humanely possible.
Well, that's the other thing, too. Pulling those kinds of G's.
Yeah.
Fun.
I got a crazy story for you. So my girlfriend's son, on a crazy whim, decided to drive up to Indianapolis.
Okay.
See if he could score tickets.
Oh, my God.
And he did. And guess what? During the live event, we're watching it. We call him and said, "Did you see that tire, dude?" He goes, "Yeah, I ducked. It flew over my head."
Nice.
He was in that turn.
Wow. It actually left the track and hit a car.
I know. If that was my car, I want the tire as a souvenir. That would be a nice souvenir. But, dude, it's an absolute miracle that tire flew I was calculating probably 40
and
50 and barely cleared the stands. And they're not hitting anybody, vendors or people walking around down below the grandstand.
That's going to kill somebody. And and they've spent a lot of time to do some type of safety restraint. So I don't know what broke in that. They're not supposed to fly off like that.
Well, I think it was a freak anomaly because typically the way he hit it and just caused the torque.
Yeah.
But I guess it was designed so that if it clears this high, it's going to clear the stands.
Clear the stands.
And it barely cleared the stands.
Yeah, I
think that would have killed or injured multiple people.
Oh, probably. And IndyCar is interesting. I remember watching live Dan Weldon be killed at Las Vegas, and that was a freak accident. That's what they always are. They're freak accidents.
Look at Earnhardt.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the Halo system. The head restraint was brought in because of Earnhardt, because what they feel about him is that if he had worn that, he would not have died.
Yeah. I mean, they got those guys secure, and if you watch the cars, they just absorb all the impact and watch their pieces just break away, you know. Yeah. So the technology is amazing.
So now the American audience will turn off auto racing until next year, though it was a really, really good day for auto racing. You had the Monaco Grand Prix that I really don't like Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen wins the Formula One. We get a one-race ban for Chase Elliott intentionally crashing somebody in the Coca-Cola 600 later that day. Yeah. So, fun times.
We don't talk about or car racing much, but we just spent, 10 minutes?
Probably.
As much as we will all year.
Combined. Yeah. So
horse racing, got the Belmont.
We have the Belmont coming up.
2 weeks. We'll talk about it next week, but it looks like Angel of Empire is going to run. That's probably who I'm going to take. I do like deep closers at Belmont. Mm-hmm. I'm going to need some front speed. It looks like Forte is in. That is a long layoff for him. That is a long distance to go, essentially wire to wire. Give me Angel of Empire.
Do you like where we are with horse racing? I mean, this idea that if I don't win at the Kentucky, I rest my horse for the Preakness and bring him back, or bring him or her back for the Belmont, because it's not worth it to me anymore. And these horses are run so sparingly in their careers. This isn't the days of Secretariat.
Well, you got to remember the stud fee is going to be way more valuable in the end than the racing wins money wise. I think it depends on the style of your horse. If you have a horse that's a stalk closer, I think depending on your horse, that yes, obviously if you get a Kentucky Derby horse that goes wire to wire, or is right up near the pace, and his style has always been pace closer, and he wins, I think typically he's going to run in the Preakness. But if he wires the Preakness and he runs in a dominating fashion, then they're going to put him in the Belmont. I think we haven't seen the last of the potential Triple Crown winners, to answer your question.
Well, I mean,
I noticed that is kind of
that's the trend. Theme, yeah. I mean, the idea that we had Mage in the Preakness, and we talked about this last week, that not another single horse in that field had raced a Derby. So, I mean, if conceivably Mage had run over that field, Mage wasn't all that much of a great horse winning the Derby. It just kind of fell the right way for that horse. And then do you diminish the Triple Crown? Does that diminish the Triple Crown?
I mean, I don't think so. You still got to go out there and win and beat, the horses in front of you or behind you, so to speak.
Fair enough.
There's something else I was going to tell you about. I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, that's coming up. That'll be exciting. We'll probably start rounding into baseball here. We got the NFL draft coming up.
Well, NFL training camp. We have
OTAs.
Yeah, OTAs. We have NBA draft coming up in a couple of weeks.
Do you think the Raiders void the $72 million and say, God, thank God we had an out. We're paying this guy $72. We way overpaid him. He's already hurt. I would. I would thank God and walk away from that contract.
If I was the Raiders, I would try to restructure it, because, in all honesty, injuries notwithstanding, I would want Jimmy Garoppolo in my locker room. He's that dude.
Yeah.
He's a dude in the locker room.
Yeah, well, I don't need a dude in the locker room making $72 million. I need him on the field winning football games. And talk about horses that skip races. This guy's missed a lot of NFL games.
I get that, and availability is a skill. But one of the things that I don't know if the Raiders have is a good locker room culture. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm looking across, not across the bay anymore, but I'm looking at my 49ers wondering, does Sam Darnold lead us to the Super Bowl? That's going to be interesting to me. Sam Darnold, Brock Purdy, and Trey Lance. Good problem to have.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess. In that system, one of them should be able to eke out the 11 to 12 wins you need in the division.
And the word on the street, what they're saying from 49ers land is that Sam Darnold really not what his record and his previous career indicates, that he is better than that. So we'll see.
Well, again, going back to a coach that can put people in places to make them better, and that's what Shanahan brings to the table.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to put players together. Well, let's do some sports trivia. If you hung through the horse racing, the auto racing, and everything else, me and Bob play single elimination. It's there's no consolation prize. There's no second place trophy. It's winner take all.
Ooh.
You want to play along at home?
Ooh.
Bob, I will let you pick your topic: baseball, pro football, pro basketball, or golf.
We're going to go with the little white ball.
You want white balls? Am I giving you white balls?
No, I'm going to ask you a white ball question.
All right.
Or how do we do this? It's been so long. Do you pick the topic and then I ask it, or?
That's fine.
Okay.
You can pick. Let's do that. You pick the topic you think you can beat me at.
Okay.
I did play golf for 11 straight years, though.
Yeah, I got a friend who's watched sports for 50 years, and it doesn't make him an expert. Okay, golf. During stroke play, while on the teeing ground, I guess that's on the tee box, John breaks off a branch of a tree that would have interfered with his swing. Is there a penalty for this since the ball was not yet in play?
Okay.
So
the ball's on the ground.
He's
ready to hit it, and he breaks the branch.
He's in the tee box.
He's in the tee box.
He hasn't hit his tee shot, and where he's put his ball, I guess a tree branch is in his backswing. He doesn't want it, so he goes up and breaks the tree branch to clear it.
Okay.
Is there a penalty?
So he's in the tee box. He's not out.
He's not.
The course.
He's not. The ball is not yet in play.
I'm going to say in that case, that's an obstruction to the swing of the tee box, and he has every right to remove any impediments to his swing. Now, had he been on a fairway or in the rough, I'm getting ready to get buzzed.
I don't know where my buzz sound is, though. Yeah, there we go. No. Because you may eliminate irregularities on the ground, but not break a branch.
I knew you couldn't break a branch. I thought it was a trick question. Because I actually did that and got penalized one time. Ask Jeff.
2 strokes. 2 strokes. Yeah. Okay. Looks like I might win.
Okay. All right.
What are you going to throw at me?
It's interesting.
Okay.
Similar, but see if you get this right.
You staying in the little white ball realm?
Yeah.
Kind of sounds like Lance Armstrong.
During stroke play, an immovable obstruction is interfering with John's swing. John and his caddy, with Herculean effort, remove the obstruction. Is John subject to a penalty for this?
No.
Yes, 2 strokes. He is not allowed to move a fixed or a movable object.
Well,
how easy could I have made that?
Well, no. If it's an immovable object, it can't be moved. If they've moved it, it's not an immovable object anymore.
All right, let's go to sudden death before we lose everybody.
Oh, my God. Okay. Pro football.
Pro football.
A runner breaks into the clear, but slips on the wet turf.
Okay.
A defensive player takes the ball from the ball carrier's hands as the ball carrier lies on his back. Is this legal since the ball carrier has not been downed?
Give it to me one more time.
A runner breaks into the clear, but slips and falls on the wet turf. A defensive player takes the ball from the ball carrier's hands as the ball carrier lies on their back, like an upended turtle. Mm-hmm. Is this legal since the ball carrier has not been downed?
All day long. Yes.
No. You can only take the ball from the player when he is on his feet. And I actually think I would have gotten this answer just thinking.
Is that college or pro?
That is pro.
Let me change that one.
And I wonder if it's the whole idea that you're not down until you're touched. If I reach in and get the ball, you're touched, you're down.
I know you're down in college. I didn't know in the pro.
Well, no, in college, you're down when you go down. You don't even need to be touched. In pro, you just need to be touched. Right. Okay, one more try.
I like being touched. I should have been a pro.
Oh, you wouldn't have made much money.
Okay, here we go. Pro football. If you get this right, it's just going to be a tie.
Okay.
All right. With 3rd and 12 from the 3-yard line, John throws a pass that is intercepted and run back to the 2-yard line, where it is fumbled into the end zone by the player who intercepted it. John picks up the ball in the end zone and is tackled there and fumbles the ball out of the back of the end zone. What is the ruling? I know that's a little wordy. You want me to repeat it?
No, I got it. I got it. Safety.
Basically, it's a touchback. It is John's team's ball, 1st and 10 on the 20.
Okay. Oh, because you can't. Okay. Fumbling into the end zone. So everything that happens after the ball has been fumbled into the end zone is irrelevant. Okay.
So, okay.
We're horrible.
Well, we tied and we couldn't answer.
Yep, we're horrible. We're horrible.
One thing we are good at is being back next week. So we'll have Max back in the saddle. We'll see you all next week. Please make sure to hit like, subscribe, Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. Until then, guys, OH.
And we're out.